Welcome back to Project 82, the SCP Remote Access Database. Which case file do you require?
Item number SCP-077. Object Class Euclid. SCP-077 is to be kept in Research Sector 861 on top of a 0.5 meter steel pedestal in a 3 meter by 3 meter by 3 meter chamber with 0.5 meter thick steel reinforced walls. The reinforced steel hatch door to the chamber is to comply with AH-37 protocol and is to be guarded at all times by 2 Level 1 personnel. A boom mic connected to a speech recognition system should verify that all pronunciation is within standards. A camera is to be mounted within the chamber to record any changes. Every 8 hours, a minimum of 2, but preferably 3, trained D-Class personnel are to enter the containment area and, in a loud, clear voice, read the runes etched onto SCP-077 in unison. The reading must be performed by individuals who understand the full meaning of the runes being read, who are able to pronounce the entirety of the inscription correctly, and who are no more than 30 centimeters away from SCP-077. All personnel must undergo a 1-week training session with Foundation linguists for pronunciation, reading, and dialect coaching. A minimum of 20 D-Class personnel are to be trained or undergoing training at all times. Trained D-Class personnel are exempt from termination until such time as they have been replaced. Foundation linguists are to remain on call in case of an unexpected rune change. Every new set of runes is to be transcribed into phonetic English and provided with literal and idiomatic translations as quickly as possible. See documents 077 True for archived translations. The cafeteria menu for Research Sector 861 must not include any potatoes or potato-based ingredients. SCP-077 appears to be the top half of a human skull engraved with runes, each filled with an unidentified black resin. The runes change every lunar month, defined by the full moon rising above the horizon in Ireland, as well as the winter and summer solstices, the spring and autumn equinoxes, and whenever a partial, annular, or total solar or lunar eclipse is visible from Ireland. If these engravings are not read aloud at least once within a 24-hour period, the eye sockets and nasal cavity of SCP-077 will emit SCP-077-1. SCP-077-1 is a luminescent green vapor whose precise nature remains undetermined. It is to be noted that, although SCP-077-1 behaves as a normal gas in all other ways, it only occupies those spaces which are within SCP-077's effective line of sight, and does not flow into the space behind SCP-077 unless confined. Opaque, impermeable barriers with no biological content can provide temporary protection from SCP-077-1. However, attempts to permanently contain SCP-077 within opaque containers have failed, due to the artifact's production of sufficient quantities of SCP-077-1 to explosively rupture these containers. All biological material, with the obvious exception of SCP-077 itself, which comes into contact with SCP-077-1, is instantly transformed into a viscous, malodorous ooze. The ooze has been identified as the rotted flesh of potato tubers, Solanum tuberosum, which have been severely infected with the potato blight, Phytophthora infestans. 1 cubic centimeter of SCP-077 transforms upwards of 800 grams of biological material. Reading SCP-077's engravings has a noticeable, if transient, effects on the health of its readers. These effects include nausea, cramps, headache, dizziness, incontinence, fever, skin rashes, nosebleeds, and fugue states. Effects intensify as the time between readings increases and can become cumulative for individuals who read the engravings too many times consecutively and/or too frequently. Readers have a 60% chance of developing an allergy to potatoes. Addendum 077-01. The artifact was recovered from in the village of Ireland. Locals had built a shrine around the artifact where upwards of participants would engage in a nightly ritual. Fragmentary historical documents retrieved from the remnants of the village church, see Archive 077-1576, and library, see Archive 077-1582, indicate that the artifact existed as early as 1848, at which point in time it is described in highly positive terms, including protector and provider. By 1869, however, references to the artifact are fearful, resentful, and couched in euphemism.
Case file ends. Which case file do you require?
Item number SCP-084. Object Class Euclid. SCP-084 is currently under a full non-interaction order until the full extent of the emission waves has been evaluated. For detailed documentation on general FNI orders, see document XRG-1182. For detailed documentation on FNI orders in relation to SCP-084, see document XRG-1208A. A continuous surveillance watch is to be maintained around the active area of SCP-084 with the primary objective of civilian misdirection and external surveillance. With no major roads, trails, or other travel routes nearby, any civilians encountered approaching SCP-084 are to be deemed suspect and detained for evaluation. Under no circumstances are any Foundation or civilian personnel allowed into the active area of SCP-084, except with the express vocal and written permission of no fewer than 2 members of O5 Command. Sentries are to maintain their posted position with line-of-sight contact checks on fellow sentries, in conjunction with compass and landmark checking. All reference points should be well outside the active area of SCP-084. Should any sentry fail to report in via vocal roll call, full recall orders will be issued to all sentries, and containment will be re-evaluated by special response teams. In the event of active area fluctuation, full recall orders are to be assumed by all active sentries, followed by appropriate action. No form of radio, GPS, television, cell phone, video camera, still picture camera, or any other recording or electronic media devices are permitted within 100 meters of the active area around SCP-084. Civilians found with such devices within this area are to have said devices confiscated and destroyed immediately. Any recordings collected SCP-084 appears to be a large radio tower positioned in the center of a large open field with 2 small outbuildings. Direct observation and sample collection from SCP-084 is impossible due to the effect that is emitted around from SCP-084. SCP-084 appears to emit a form of wave or radiation that has a detrimental effect on local space-time reality. The most pronounced effect of this is the alteration of local space within the active area of SCP-084. Externally, the active area forms a rough dome shape of 200 meters in diameter. SCP-084 appears inside this area at random points, appearing to jump at random times, sometimes even appearing in multiple locations at once inside the active area. Internally, the space appears to be unlimited, with SCP-084 at the center. SCP-084 is impossible to reach due to the emitted effect. Attempts to approach SCP-084 within the active area have returned the observation that SCP-084 retains its relative position on the horizon even after 3 months and 12 days of dedicated direct travel, both by vehicle and on foot. Termination tests have proved impossible, as no means of destruction are capable of physically reaching SCP-084, even when entered from outside the active area. Local space will also distort periodically. This will cause relative distances to randomly extend or contract in a flicker, causing buildings or objects to suddenly jump thousands of meters away or rush up to other points, sometimes even causing overlaps. These overlaps have a markedly detrimental effect on living tissue. The town of is assumed to have been situated in or around the original manifestation of the active area. This town is no longer observable from outside the active area, appearing only once inside the active area. Has maintained the same population, 343 humans, for the duration of its encapsulation. Births inside appear impossible, along with normal aging patterns. Suicide and or homicide appear to be circumvented by the area effect, with dead subjects flickering and appearing alive and unharmed several seconds after death. There are also reports of events rewinding, causing things like mortal wounds to visibly freeze and close. Subjects appear to exhibit many events of inconsistent spacetime, as do most structures. For detailed observations, see log 084-A4. Electronic devices and recording equipment do not function correctly in or around the active area. Subjects report bizarre or unsettling transmissions from video and audio recording and playback devices. This acts to totally isolate from the outside world, precluding any need for Foundation enacted containment. It also appears impossible to leave the active area after a random period of time. One subject from found on the grass plain, see log 084-A4, reported he had been traveling for 6 years. He was found approximately 400 meters from city limits.
Thank you for your participation in Project 82, transmitting psioanalytic data to Dr.